So that's an extra factor that we as manufacturers need to take into account when we design the toys. They should not only be safe in themselves, they need to be safe even when they are handled without care. And in the EU, we have some very strict rules to ensure toy safety. First of all, we need to ensure the toy safety. Then we need to prove that the toys are safe. So as of this year, we have a new directive which obliges manufacturers to do a safety assessment, to document that, and to keep the documentation for 10 years. You can imagine that that's a serious administrative burden and a very costly enterprise as well, because testing the toys actually costs quite a lot of money. So we go through an enormous amount of trouble to make sure that toys are safe and that we can prove that they are safe. It's then very painful to see reputable companies going through all this trouble and then finding out that extremely similar toys can be found on the shelves at reduced price and most likely not complying with the essential safety standards. We're then talking about things that can go wrong, small parts that can detach, that can be a choking hazard, materials that are not robust enough so that the toy at one stage can break and can then have sharp edges, again being a risk to the child, or materials containing toxic substances that might leak from the toy when children put them in their mouths, as they do, or magnets that may be swallowed. That's quite dangerous. Also, if the cords that are attached to some toys are too long, they could strangle children when they, don't play always safely. The EU's Rapid Alert System for Dangerous Consumer Products, RAPEX, frequently includes notifications of counterfeit toys that present a serious safety hazard to children. Not only do counterfeiters produce toys that could be dangerous, in addition, they also damage the reputation of the brands they copy. For a lot of consumers, it's not going to be clear that they are buying counterfeit goods. Although there will be a difference in price, it's not going to be an enormous difference. So the price definitely is not an immediate giveaway. And a lot of people actually are under the impression that they've bought the genuine article. So it damages the reputation of the brand holder. It's difficult to put an exact figure on it, but we think that up to 10% of the toys available in the market in the EU are counterfeits or parasitic copies. And I mentioned parasitic copies and would like to just focus on this for a moment, because we find that these kinds of copies are now almost more important than real counterfeits. The counterfeiters have realized that they can get away with a lot more if they do not pretend to be the rights holders. So what happens is that a genuine toy is imitated extremely closely, but not quite exactly. So it will have the same color and shape of packaging, often even with the exact same picture on the packaging, layout and design of the label, design of the product itself, but the brand name will differ just a little bit so that they cannot be accused of real IPR theft. And counterfeiters have discovered that in most cases, national legislation does not provide adequate instruments to protect the industry against parasitic copying. In some jurisdictions, it is an infringement, in others, it is not. And there is no EU-wide legislation that addresses the issue at the moment. As an industry, we would like to ask that parasitic copying should at the very least be uniformly treated as an unfair marketing practice across the EU, with effective, efficient and timely enforcement measures available to all companies. The fight against counterfeiting and parasitic copying is a very difficult one for toy manufacturers. They see their business damaged by loss in income and damage to reputation, and especially the smaller companies, and there are a lot of small companies within the toy industry, they can do very little against something like this. For instance, very often they won't even start a fight, because they know that if they have to seize the counterfeit goods, that means legal costs, which are considerable. It means paying for storage, paying for the destruction of the goods, and it doesn't weigh up for them. So that's one complicating factor. And then if they do decide to go to court, they're often faced with a high level of legal uncertainty. The burden of proof is on the shoulders of the rights holders. To us, it would make more sense if the other party had to prove that they did not infringe IPR instead of the other way around. Also, what is recognized as an IPR infringement in one country of the EU may not be so in another country. The counterfeiters do know this. There are substantial differences, for example, between France and the UK law on this, and we would very much welcome more harmonization. But I will end on a positive note, because we do think that things may be moving in the right direction. The European Observatory on Counterfeiting and Piracy, in our view, has certainly helped to put the issue more on the political agenda. We feel that there's more awareness both within the European Commission and within the European Parliament. We find it's also a very good platform for sharing best practices. There are at the moment this year a number of studies, reports and consultations on the way. Some of these are also looking at parasitic copying, so for our industry that's definitely good news. And we are eagerly awaiting future legislation that would introduce real sanctions against, strong sanctions against IPR infringements, as we think that they are really essential in order for the legislation to act as an efficient deterrent. Thank you.
So as Interpol Secretary General, I've traveled a lot and I've chaired a lot of meetings and conferences, and one of my big fears has been that somewhere in the audience there's someone who's actually wanted for arrest internationally by Interpol. Now it's only happened once in 10 years, and the person we're looking at here is not quite like the person who we want to arrest, so relax. But John, if someone in the audience had a problem, a counterfeiting problem, a piracy problem in the US, what advice could you give them?
Well, there are lots of ways to report intellectual property violations that either involve the United States or a United States product or service. One, you can contact your local ICE attaché, and as I said earlier, there are 69 offices around the world. You can also contact the National Intellectual Property Rights Center in Washington, D.C., which is a very interesting approach in the United States to bring all of the federal law enforcement and regulatory agencies with the relevant authority together in one place as a sort of one-stop shop for industry to bring specific concerns and cases forward. For example, it includes it's run by ICE, but it doesn't include just ICE. It has the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Food and Drug Administration, the equivalent of MHRA, a number of the Department of Defense agencies, the Postal Service, and we will literally open cases and pursue investigations from those referrals. You can even make a referral online. You don't even have to call. You can go on to the website, and there's an electronic means of making a referral. Just give us enough detail. A common question that comes up is whether or not we will investigate transshipments through the United States, even if the United States is not the ultimate destination of the counterfeit goods, and the answer to that is yes, we will. If goods are passing through our country in violation of law, we will investigate them and pursue them. So there are a lot of resources out there, and people should just know about them and take advantage of them.
Philippe, si vous aviez un souhait à formuler pour protéger les patients des contrefaçons, quel souhait serait-il? Si vous avez un souhait à formuler pour protéger les patients des contrefaçons, quel serait-il?
Je crois que si on veut, en France, continuer à protéger les patients contre les contrefaçons, on a besoin de conserver absolument la sécurisation des circuits de distribution que nous avons, qui sont une excellente protection. Par contre, il y a probablement un très gros suivi à faire sur ce qui est en train de se passer sur Internet. Et donc le renforcement du contrôle de ce qui peut se passer sur Internet est un véritable enjeu. Et j'en rajouterai un deuxième parce que la contrefaçon de médicaments dans les pays développés est très particulière. J'ai dit tout à l'heure, ce sont des contrefaçons qui sont très bien faites. Et donc il y a un très gros travail également de formation et de collaboration à avoir avec les autorités sanitaires, et je pense en particulier aux douanes, pour aider à mieux détecter les produits contrefaits des originaux parce que ça devient de plus en plus difficile. Voilà.
Mais What for you would encompass real and meaningful global leadership in combating this problem?
I think.
Go ahead, just keep talking.
I think that as far as medicines are concerned, this should not be a contentious issue. You know, many countries are affected by this. There are some difficulties in the public health versus IPR debate, which can stall good international initiatives. And the sooner these matters can be resolved, the better, because the only person that is benefiting from any political impasse that may exist is the counterfeiter, not the patient.
Great. Catherine, please, many of us here have children or have young children whom we care about, and we'd like to buy them presents or gifts that are safe. You know, I don't want to say anything bad about BlackBerries, but it's not supposed to go off when I speak, no matter what the circumstances. Madam, how much time do we have left? Vous pouvez montrer à tout le monde? Ça? À tout le monde? À tout le monde? À tout le monde? À tout le monde. Okay. So my BlackBerry is out of sync. What advice do you have for us in terms of how we can go about being intelligent consumers, buying the safest toys we possibly could?
I think if you go to a reputable retailer, that's a very good first step. Somewhere where you know you can go back if there's a problem with your toy. That's not the case in all shops. So,
Online purchases of used gifts?
Yeah.
Who would buy a used gift for a child? I know you're thinking that, but it happens. It happens. You would discourage that?
Again, there it would depend who you use as a channel, I think. And used toys, we warn against. No, you have to buy new toys.
Okay. Thank you.
Also because the new legislation, I mean, the old toys are not necessarily unsafe, but they will not be covered by the new legislation.
Okay. Aline, the last question has to be answered in 2 minutes. You lead all these operations in Africa and Southeast Asia. What has been the biggest challenge and the biggest reward in launching these operations? Thank you.
En ce qui concerne les opérations qu'on a pu mener, le plus grand défi, qui est aussi la plus grande récompense qu'on ait pu avoir, c'est de mettre en phase ces agences ensemble, avec aussi un soutien du secteur privé et aussi la société civile d'une part, mais également de voir que cette interaction qui était mise en place aussi bien au niveau national, régional que international a amené à des résultats extrêmement positifs, encourageants, qui peuvent nous amener à en vouloir en faire encore davantage.
So the theme of this conference is respect, right, for IPR. And I think the respect for IPR, I mentioned during my remarks, begins with a respect for rule of law. And as you've seen from my co-panelists here, respect for rules of the conference. So a round of applause for my colleagues here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Merci à tous pour votre attention. Il me reste à féliciter Monsieur Noble pour son sens du timing, mais aussi